Gege Akutami's new manga is revealing so much about Jujutsu Kaisen's lore. I have so many theories already. Like, we might know the true origin of cursed energy and techniques and sorcery itself. We might know the secret behind Tengen's existence. And my theory that Tengen could be Sukuna's mother might hold a bunch more water. And maybe we have the reincarnation of Sukuna. Let's talk about it, but spoilers beware. Okay, so if you aren't familiar with what went down in Gege Akutami's new Jujutsu Kaisen sequel manga, Mojuro, go check that out first. But essentially, we know that aliens have entered the picture, but not only that, aliens that have sorcery. Specifically, these things pull up on the planet and they're like, yo, there's a race of people down there that have similar abilities to us. And as you guys know, in Jujutsu Kaisen, there was never any commentary on where sorcery and cursed energy and cursed spirits even came from. Well, perhaps this is our answer. It was an alien race's special abilities that at some point landed on Earth, and maybe that some point was Tengen. We know that Tengen is the godmother of cursed energy. It's thanks to their barriers that it is even cultivated within Japan, and that's why it's specifically only in Japan, because of their barriers. We also know that Tengen is ancient, virtually immortal thanks to their curse technique, so they could be ages and ages old, perhaps if not the first alien of this race to crash land, one of the first descendants of the first alien to crash land. This could also explain why they transformed in this way. Perhaps they were transforming more into their original alien form. And the reason I say that is because we see someone who looks exactly like Tengen in the first chapter of Mojuro. So if this isn't Tengen, which doesn't really make sense because we know that Tengen passed away, but we do know that some of them remained in kind of the form of a curse. So perhaps this is Tengen like reformed as a curse over the past 80 years, or perhaps this is just another member of this alien race that resembles Tengen, which would mean that Tengen was originally a member of this alien race. And assuming all of that is true, then that means one of my personal favorite theories, that Tengen is Sukuna's mother, would hold way more water. It would explain why they look similar, but more importantly, would explain why Sukuna is such a prodigy amongst prodigies, right? It could explain why he was deformed like this, because he was the child of one of these creatures, right? Perhaps one of these first or second generation aliens. And where this gets even more interesting is the thought of reincarnation and the prevalence of twins in all of the things we're talking about here, because we know that Sukuna was a twin, but his brother died in the womb, and it's likely responsible for why he had the 4 arms, 2 mouths, all that jazz, right? Well, in Mojuro, we know there is also a prominent twin who has a fractured relationship with his brother. Could this be like the reincarnation of Sukuna and Wasuke, or the original brother that Wasuke was the reincarnation of? Regardless of if some of those tangential things are true or not, it seems abundantly clear that sorcery, cursed energy, cursed techniques originated from this alien race. And at some point in the distant past, another ship must have landed on Earth. And in fact, one of the first lines of narration at the start of Mojuro is that, like, in all the universe, they happened to stumble across the blue planet. So like maybe that implies that they had heard of this blue planet before. And in fact, we knew they heard of it before because the captain was like, wait, I thought America was the most powerful country. And then they learned about Japan and they learned about the sorcery. But learning about the sorcery was a surprise to them. The captain was like, what do you mean they have powers similar to us? So there's a really intriguing mystery at the bottom of all of this. But again, at the very least, I think it's clear to say that the origin of cursed energy techniques, sorcery, came from another world, which is just so cool because these are questions we've often wondered about. And even the reincarnation stuff completely aside, like let's throw that away, the parallels are still very interesting here. Assuming again that Tengen is Sukuna's mother and a creature of that race birthed twins like this, and very special twins at that, then we may be having a repeating of that process. Like maybe that's just something that happens within this alien civilization. Like if this isn't Tengen, then perhaps it's just Maru and his twins' mother or father, right? But if it is a reincarnation, then it is just so interesting about this sibling dynamic that seems to be at the forefront of Mojuro, both with Yuta Okotsu's grandchildren, but also these alien twins, right? One of Maru's like most prominent things in that first chapter is how much he cares about the relationship with his sibling and how much he wants to understand him and fix the relationship. And we know that Sukuna's entire character in the first manga was because he didn't have anyone, right? And the stark contrast with that Yuji was only the way he was because he did have that person who was Wasuke, right? So if there was a reincarnation and there was a chance to live a different life, maybe we're getting a version of like, what if the twin had lived? Like, what would become of those two people? And I'm not sitting here saying that like it is Sukuna, you know what I mean? But we're just kind of revisiting those themes, perhaps through the lens of reincarnation, which doesn't literally mean it's going to be like the same person, even if so, right? But man, so much to sink our teeth into here. I don't even know if I'm making sense. I hope, is this tracking at all, or am I just, full Pepe Silva right now? But honestly, either way, I don't care because we are just so back. Yo, I'm telling you, your boy is boiling over with ideas. I already got another theory that I'm really excited about, but I'm going to make it another video because this one, is kind of too disjointed about this stuff already. But before we get out of here, I want to give a shout out to a couple people who have already sent in hyping up this new JJK sequel. So first of all, shout out to Fat Cat, who says, as the strongest Rizzler, how would you, manganimist, use your sorcerer powers to Riz the JJK sequel Aliens? How powerful would your alien children be? What curse techniques would they have? And would they be as strong as Gojo and Sukuna? So good question. I mean, if I gotta riz up some aliens that look like Tengen, I guess I just gotta hope that they like long yaps about nerdy subjects, because otherwise your boy's probably out of luck. Would they be stronger than Gojo and Sukuna? I mean, of course. And then I didn't even realize that this one was also from Fat Cat, so thank you so much, man. But he says, imagine if Mahito was reincarnated at the same time that the fear of aliens curse spirit was born, and it was disaster curse level, and we got a clash between the fear of aliens versus the fear of humanity. Do you think it's a cool idea? That would be gas, and I would actually root for Mahito. What do you think a fear of aliens curse technique could look like? Could it beat Mahito? And this is tough, right? Like, if the world does find out about these aliens at large, then certainly there's going to be a lot of fear, right? But something we talked about in a video recently is that it's going to take a while for something like a disaster curse to be born, right? So let's just say that like that would happen. It probably wouldn't happen for like 100 years after the start of Mojuro, but just hypothetically, right? What would its power be? I don't know. I feel like we need to find out more about the aliens so we could understand like how humanity feared them. But we could probably just base it off of like xenophobia, right? Just fear of the unknown and fear of like the other. I don't have like a good idea to really capitalize on that in the moment. So let me cook on it. But I do think that's a cool concept for sure. And then Fat Cat says, with aliens confirmed, do you want to see Hikari bust into Area 51 to retrieve an alien femboy, or do you hate peak fiction? Do you even have to ask? And then finally, my guy Gravity said, the power scaler in me heard spaceships and took one last look at planetary JJK. And this one made me laugh last night because, yeah, I mean, we're entering a whole new stratosphere with JJK. I mean, honestly, if all of sorcery is the result of Tengen, or at least Tengen's ancestors that first landed on Earth, and we have as many techniques and powers as we do just within Japan, then imagine how crazy the powers could be from an entire civilization where everyone had that, right? And I mean, there must be some reason that they're on a refugee ship looking for a new planet. Like, I wonder what happened at their home world. Again, there's just so many interesting things to dive into, but I'm going to end this video here. Please drop all your thoughts down in the comments below, or better yet, join the Discord. We've already made a Mojuro channel. I'll probably be making more. Would love to chat with y'all there. But as always, thank you for watching.